to your weekly broadcast. My name is Lee Honish. I am joined, as always, by Home Loan Advocates David Bartels. How are you today, David?
Hello, everybody. I am good, thank you. How are you, Lee?
It's fantastic. Life is grand. Got to wake up with a positive mental attitude. I'm a go to bed with positive affirmations kind of guy. Doesn't sound like me, right, David?
Does not, but I'm glad to
Here's the,
see that you're trying all that foo-foo stuff.
I have been doing it now for 6 weeks, and I can consistently say, I was telling this to a brand new new coaching student, right? So for those that don't know, I also do marketing and coaching on a one-on-one basis and do Facebook and digital posting and all that kind of stuff. But I like to meet with them first, David, and uh, it's going to kind of lead into our topic. Uh, I was saying that I don't want to be the guy who believes in the law of attraction or positive mental outlook. However, I cannot deny that when I am listening, or I go to bed with, I know this sounds real frou-frou. I listen to sleep meditations that are positive affirmations and law of attraction.
Yeah.
And when I'm in the correct space during the day, wealth and abundance and happiness come my way throughout the day. Now, maybe those things were going to occur before I listened to those and before I changed my mental outlook and was thinking positively throughout. Maybe it was going to happen on its own, David. Maybe it's just coincidence. However,
Right.
it seems to be to the contrary, which brings up sort of our topic for today. And everybody who's here in the coaching room, go ahead and load up your questions. And I'm going to say this there are a couple of people that are on this call that I do coaching with, right? And thanks, Mark, for being back on the call. How's the market? Great to listen to the motivational recordings. Good. We'll talk about the market in just a second, but I want to ask David about this. I come into a situation, people always hire me for one basic thing, David. It doesn't matter if it's the monster or if it's for digital marketing. People want more leads. And you and I both know that more leads is usually not the problem to the situation. It's usually the connection they have, where the call's going. Depending on the size of the brokerage, my history has indicated that with brokerages, they tend to bleed calls. Or the agents are divvying them up in a strange way to make sure that the good ones are going to place. They're qualifying the lead. So I guess today's first topic is talking about qualifying leads. This is a very common thing that I see with a lot of people. Right? Even with the monster, and I can say this literally from brokerages that I've gone in and consulted with, or agents I've consulted with, the first place I always start with is the lead source itself. There is a commonality. There is a general thread in real estate from my experience where a phone call comes in and it's qualified. Like it's immediately qualified. What do they want? What's the end game? What's the benefit to me or my brokerage? Instead of the way I would handle a call or the way you would handle a call, which is if somebody called me literally out of the blue and I don't really care what their business is. Let's say they, sold bagels and somehow they got my phone number and they said, Lee, you work wonders in what you do. We want you to help do marketing for us. First, I'd say, who are you? What's your information? Where are you located? Do you have a website? I would gather as much information as I could before I decide whether or not I could physically do anything for them or engage them. But I'd like to hear your end because I know you run pretty much a drip line machine for business. How important is it to train the agents correctly? I know that you've gone to a call service, but the difference between taking the call live, capturing the lead, capturing the data. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I want to go back to what you're saying when you're talking about qualifying the lead. So, when I think about qualifying the lead, there are two aspects of qualifying a lead. Number one is, can they buy? That's the typical when you hear qualify is what people think about. And then the other thing is, will they buy? So when we take a lead, whether or not it's a nurture lead that we're recontacting, or it's a brand new lead that's coming in, one of the first things that we really want to get to is not necessarily it's not the first question, but it's one of the first objectives, and that is to ask what their time frame is. So we categorize everybody in our database one of a couple of ways. So one is we call it our top leads, or our hot leads. In my case, we segment them top 100. And then everything else is friends and family. The top 100 are those relationships, those leads and those previous relationships that that we have to. Someone's texted me. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to make sure, are they looking to do a move? These top 100 people are people who are going to either do business with us or refer business to us in the short period of time. So what I like to think is a hot prospect is somebody who's going to transact within 90 days, and everybody else is over 90 days. Everybody else goes in that. And we have to do what you talk about all the time here, and that is stay top of mind. So when we're qualifying people, we start by, when are you looking to do a transaction? And then once we've identified what they're trying to do, we're identifying what their objectives are. And then everything else is designed in order to help them achieve what their objectives are. And that might be talking to a lender, that might be starting to take a look at houses, that might be saving for a down payment, that might be credit repair, all those different things that go into qualifying their ability to buy. Was that more than you asked for?
No, it's exactly what I asked for. And I think it's really important. There is, for those of you that are listening to this that are struggling on any kind of level whatsoever, I can tell you that I now know this. This is very weird. I wish that I was just hired. This is going to sound really weird, David. I wish I was just hired to do digital marketing or to teach people how to do the Monster on some level, because those are mechanical things. You can't just simply apply mechanical things to people. You can't just simply organize their life and say, do X, Y, Z, everything will be better. Just send me your leads. There's always going to be that human element. And I think in real estate, it is, and I'd say this with all businesses, right? We're not putting enough of a priority on capturing the information. We're more important with what is the net sum return of the conversation.
Well, I think what you're saying, the net sum return, it depends on, and you've got to look at that from two perspectives. Number one, the perspective of your client / prospect, and also your perspective. And I think one of the things that one of the ways that people get sideways, which is why I like advocate marketing, this advocate marketing system that we do, so much, is that advocate marketing, the way that we define it, even though we invented it based on the context of distressed property, advocating for people who are under distress, really that is a concept that has a broad spectrum, because it applies to everybody advocating for what the client wants. And so what a lot of people get hung up in, real estate agents and investors, when they're going out and talking to their prospects, they're talking about how great they are and how they're going to do this and how they're doing about that. And their conversations are about them, the agent. And what I find is through advocate marketing system and through building our own success, is that when I focus my time and energy on them, on the prospect, on finding out what they want and showing them how we're going to help them do it, the other stuff just happens naturally. Our conversions are greater. The problem that people have with leads is not generating leads. Listen, everybody's got a big network of people who are doing transactions. The problem is we're either failing to stay top of mind to those people that we already have relationships with, or we're failing to convert those people who are already in our sphere that have a high probability of doing a real estate transaction in the next 90 days. And so conversion really comes down to focusing on your prospect, on your buyer, on your seller, on your client, versus how great we are and how we do this and how we do that, which is fine, but only in the context of helping them solve their problem or achieve their goal.
I completely agree. I completely agree. That seems to be the number one thing that I've seen. And having met with a lot of people, and this might sound like I'm picking on a couple of people on the call, but I'm not. I think this is another truism for a lot of people that are having difficulty. Traumatic life events, David. I bring this up because this is a real hurdle for real estate agents. I know for a fact a couple of people on this call. Dramatic life events shifting your direction and taking you out of your business model and never being able to recover from it. This is why structure is somewhat, I would say it's really important that you at least have some set of protocols or some sort of operating. On Monday I do this, Tuesday I do this. In your experience, in your past, I know you've talked about, starting over. How is it, because you're also a broker, how important is it to remember that you are an independent business owner and that life events are going to happen, and while they're very difficult and sometimes very sad, they're going to have a dramatic shift in your business, and how important is it to have a system in place?
Well, I mean, I think the big challenge with real estate agents and investors, real estate investors, is that they are dependent on their own productivity, their own success. And in other words, as long as they're having a good month, they're having a good month. And if they're unable to work, or, because of a physical or mental, situation, then they're just not going to be able to produce any income. And this is one of the reasons that so many people end up washing out of the business, unsuccessful. It's not that they didn't have the talent. It really comes down to, it's not just ability. It's kind of like, it's not just can you buy, it's will you buy. It's not just can you be a success, it's will you do the work, to do success. And that means doing the things that you don't want to do to be successful every single day, instead of waiting for you to be in the mood to make, to go out and put tags and be in the mood to do, make your follow-up calls. You can't wait till you're in the mood. It's like waiting till you can afford to have children. It just never happens. Okay. And it doesn't, you've got to wake up every single day and do the things that you don't want to do in order to be successful. And for me, my, starting over, those life changing things, that's where the fire comes from. That's where you don't have a plan B. You throw, plan B is you went through plan A, you went through plan B. Now it's just me, and I got to go out there and make it happen. And when you're hungry, okay, or you're losing your car, or you're losing your house, or you're losing your spouse, or, your kid needs a medical procedure, or whatever the case may be, it's amazing, the level of focus and effort that you can apply to a situation. And when that, I would bet on somebody who had to be successful any day over somebody who has the ability to be successful, but not the motivation.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wish it was as simple as me teaching. Here's what I've learned. Now, having been doing this digital marketing and consulting thing for the better part of a couple of years for people, there is a general commonality. I think the call is one of the first places. This traumatic life event thing is very real in everybody's life. I get accused of this a lot. I get accused of being an uncaring person because my attitude is the bills are still going to come tomorrow. Things are still going to have to happen tomorrow. My daughter's still going to have to go to piano tomorrow. Like, those things are still going to happen whether or not I'm upset or I'm grieving. And I get that because I'm a business owner. Doesn't mean that I don't care or I don't feel about it, but it's not going to change life moving at its current speed. And it's It's a really difficult thing. I mean, we're talking about in real estate specifically, David. This is an emotional venture, right? You're by and large, most people connect and engage with their clients and create a relationship. And by and large, most of you on this call, you are thinking, caring, feeling human beings, and you are connecting and relating to these people. And when something dramatic happens, it can be shattering, David. It literally can be shattering for a real estate agent.
Right. Well, she is. Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is the world is full of people with ability who just lack the willingness or motivation to do what they could be very good at. And that's really, it's not enough just to be good. You've got to be busy, and you've got to apply those skills. And I mean, and in fact, I can prove it to you because I think about me, young in my career, a college dropout, having the 22-year-old married with a baby, no way to support it other than myself, and thinking about how to go about doing that. And I got thrown into a sales job because who else would hire me? And what I lacked in, I had no experience whatsoever. What I lacked in experience, I made up for in enthusiasm. And in other words, I outworked everybody else. And through that repetition, through that hard work, that doing it over and over and over again, what took me long to do, there are people who are better than I am, but nobody outworked me. And through that process, I developed the skills. And then I got to a crossroad in my career where I could have dialed back my work ethic and just relied on my skills and made the same amount of money, or I could apply the work ethic with the skill set, AKA higher conversions, and really have some kind of success. And obviously that's what I decided to do. But you can offset a lack of experience, a lack of ability with work, but you can't offset a lack of willingness with ability.
Yeah. And it really does come down to three things. And I believe most of you have one of these three elements, which is, for anybody listening, it's your client's got to like you. Your client's got to either like you, trust you, or believe you're the expert in your field. If you are like me and you're a little bit of a gruff person, then you have to lean more on expertise. These aren't trainable things. Like, there's a reason why people are in real estate. You're going to, I'm with you, David. It is repetition of the model. Most of the coaching and even when it comes to digital marketing or setting somebody up for success, the way that I do, it's getting people in the habit of doing something. And it's about being uncomfortable, which is kind of my next segue. How important is it to make yourself uncomfortable on a daily basis to keep moving you forward?
Listen, if you're not putting yourself in a position to get 5, 6, 7 no's a day, okay, to face their rejection, then you don't have much of an opportunity to be successful. So you've got to be uncomfortable all the time. You've got to do things that are scary. You've got to face the rejection, every single day. That's what sales is really all about. And so I haven't yet found an easy way to get rich. Let me put it this way. If it were easy, anybody could do it. If it were easy, okay, you wouldn't have the opportunity to make so much money when you do it well. That's really what the bottom line is. So you've got to develop the skill set in order to make it work. But everything starts with effort. Everything new requires some effort, but everything worth having requires hard work, and you've got to want the outcome in order to do the work. There's a lot of people who are 1 week, 1 month away from really making it big, but they abandon their action plan, because they could see results, or it wasn't as easy as they thought it was going to be. I mean, we're talking to a lot of real estate agents and investors here. So think about for sale by owner. There's a lot of for sale by owner people out there that decide that they can do it just as well as an agent. And within a month, 60, 70% of them have hired an agent. In other words, they weren't willing to do the work that they needed to do in order to, to save the money. It wasn't worth it. And I think that's true of a lot of people and a lot of examples. That's just one example of how people, perceive a situation one way only to find out it's another.
Mark Doris writes, great subject. You have your thumb on the pulse, Lee. No, I consult with a lot of real estate agents. I wish I was this brilliant on my own. Here's what you learn from repetition just on this particular topic, Mark. It's not that I'm some great seer of what's going on. It's that I coach and do marketing for people. And I've discovered that I'm not hired to be a marketing guy. It's the least activity of what I do, if that makes sense. Does that make sense, David? It's not the number one thing that I'm asked to, it's not the number one thing that I have to fix, right? I can get people more leads. The Monster's proven that. The digital marketing that I do, I can show actual numbers, all that stuff. That's the least of what I do. If you're not taking the call, if you're not converting the call, I need to understand it always breaks down at the call. And if the breakdown at the call is the individual, then I started to have to look at the individual themselves to answer Mark's question, which leads to his next question. How do we stay in the zone, especially when life issues get involved? You have to get somebody who's going to make you uncomfortable. I know Isabel's on the call, and I met with her in Vegas, David. And I'm not going to discuss her life event or what caused her to be where she's at right now. She hired me, of course, get me more, which is the number one thing people ask me to do. And I saw the breakdown and I saw the life issue and I saw what had to be done. You're going to like this one, David. I needed her to get out and be uncomfortable. I sent her to a paint night with a package full of business cards and said, go drink wine and paint with a bunch of women that are approximately your own age. Someone will ask what you do. Get comfortable with that. And it was uncomfortable. It took her a little bit of time. She's actually signed up for one on Friday, but that's what you have to do. I mean, find what you're weakest at and go do it to get you out of it. And if you can't, Mark, this isn't a plug for me. Get someone to do it for you. Get somebody that will make it hurt a little bit. That's why I price the way I price. I want people to do what they're going to do. Why hire me if it doesn't hurt a little bit? There's a reason for the Advocate Marketing Program. There's a reason for the pricing on the Monster Program. There's a reason I put a price on me doing one-on-one with people. It's very logical. It has to hurt a little bit. You are investing in it, and therefore you have to do it. I get that there are buyers. I have clients that are buyers that just, I don't know why you gave me money. You're not doing what I'm telling you to do. You're not actively helping me market for you. I get that. But the people that genuinely need help who come to me, Mark, you have to look at the event. You have to look at how you're taking calls. You have to be very realistic about everything, and you have to do things that are beyond the zone. Is there something you'd like to add beyond that, David?
No, listen, there's no shortcut. I mean, if you're looking for a way where there's a bunch of shortcuts and you're going to have a bunch of magic success with minimal effort, there's a pill that you can take to help you lose weight. Listen, it's hard work. I mean, building a successful business is hard work, and you got to be willing to do the work. It comes with all kinds of risks and rewards, and the people who figure it out are the people who have the best success. But the one thing that I know of all successful people is that they figured out a process and they executed it consistently. Yep. They just woke up every day determined in order to move that ball down the field. And the other thing that I have to do all the time for myself is I got to remind myself to stay busy doing productivity related activities. There's a lot of busy work that I can do during the day, but I need to do revenue generating activities. I need to do the sales calls. Yep. I need to do the sales follow-up. I need to do the stuff that's not fun or exciting, or scary. I have to do all those things every single day. And if I've got 12 or 15 calls like I have to do right after this call, I got 12 or 15 calls that I need to make. And I'm going to make those calls, but I'm just going to stop and just make myself do it. I don't feel like doing it. I've got a lot of other things that I need to do. Some of it's I'm going to get answers that I don't want to get, but if I'm going to strike out, I'm going to strike out swinging. I'm going to fail because I tried too hard, not because I didn't try hard enough. That's my mentality.
Have you ever had this thought, David? And this is amusing. I don't know what to do today to generate more business.
Yeah, of course I've had that thought. Not recently because we're busy, but the one thing that I know for sure is, and the reason I'm busy and I don't have to deal with that every day is because early on I decided that the number one way to generate consistent success was to keep your foot on the gas. And as long as I never have to take my foot off, if I never take my foot off the gas, and the marketing engine is always running in the background, whether or not I'm driving or it's on autopilot, then I know that I'm going to be okay. I mean, sometimes, the car's, putters a little bit when it's going uphill, and then sometimes it speeds going downhill, and those I would equate to the seasons and the focus. But for the most part, is you keep your foot on the gas. I mean, just take somebody who has got nothing going on right now and is waking up this morning thinking about how am I going to find I either need to go find a deal, a listing, or I need to go find a job. Okay, I'm not sure what I need to do. Well, there's nothing that generates business like being busy. And you start by figuring out how to get one sign in the yard, and then you go backwards from there. So I need a sign in the yard. What's the best place I can do that? I can do for sale by owners. I can do expireds. I can do distressed. I can do canceled. I can do door knocking. So when I think about all those things and something that was going to get, my first goal is get face to face with somebody who's got a high probability of doing a transaction. I think that distressed properties is the best way to do that. So I would focus on doing tags, and then I'd spend a couple of hours preparing and putting those tags out. And then I would go on those appointments. That creates immediate activity, and I would rinse and repeat until I had a listing. And then I'd get that sign in the yard, and then from there, then I would do my rounds. I would do my just listed to the 50 houses, and I would host an open house, and I go knock on the neighbor's doors and invite them to the open house, and I do all those little basic things. Then I tried to convert buyers that came through the open house, and next thing you know, that one lead, I've got 3 or 4 prospects now that now I can start following up on. And the next thing you know, you're 5 years into it like I am, and you've got over 13,000 people in your database. Yeah. And they're calling every day or every week, right, wanting to get more information about how your program works because we've stayed, top of mind. So, that's kind of where we're at. There's a lot of competition. If you want your friends, in California, 1 in 95 adults has a real estate license. I mean, if you're Facebook friends with more than 100 people, you're not the only real estate agent in your circle of friends. Right. Okay. Statistically speaking. And, and then I talk to the agent, well, I don't like to talk about business. I don't like to promote my business. That kind of, well, listen, the first couple of times your good friend lists with somebody else and you see how, you see that on Facebook, then you're going to say, oh, how could they do that? Don't they know I'm a real estate agent? Well, maybe they don't. So, that's really what, that's what talking about the real estate business does for you. At least get your friends to at least maybe have a conversation with you before they do business with somebody else versus just do business with somebody else.
I'd love to share a story on that line. So we talked about this a couple of months ago. David and I did the role playing about always carry your business cards. You're always promoting your own business. For those of you who don't know, I do a lot of podcasting, and one of the podcasts I do is on boxing. And I went to the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame, and I was obsessed before going to that event, David, with having my business cards. They didn't get shipped to my home before I left. So while I was in Las Vegas, I ran around to make sure I had business cards. I didn't really interact with any of the guests. I kind of stayed off by myself with my laptop. And ultimately, for those that are boxing nerds, I did meet a fairly famous boxer and his entire team, and we started talking. And literally during the course of the conversation, one of the trainers from this guy's camp, David, goes, he said the question, what do you do? I said, well, I do marketing and content. I said, I do boxing because that's, it's a passion project, more or less. I said, but my day job is really marketing and content. He goes, really, tell me more about it. That was the opening. I explained my philosophies of marketing. And then came the magic words. Do you have a card? I said, more importantly, let me get your information. And I captured his information. Then I did the oldest trick in the book. For those of you who don't know this, I think business cards get lost. I have a business card that has a Google number on the front and a website and an email, but on the back, I leave blank so that I could write my cell phone number and said, this is my cell. This will bypass the Google number. Now, if I hadn't gone to that trouble or had that business card, I would have flummoxed around. I still probably would have captured the information, but it's a direct relation to what we talk about on this call. It doesn't matter what the widget is. If you're not in that mindset constantly, then you need to have someone keep you in that mindset. To me, I mean, the truth is, David, creating a structure to operate by, from my perspective, what I would like everybody to do on Monday is put out monsters. That would generally take up your whole day and leave plenty of time for you to do other simple activities if you're just going for something simple. More than likely on Tuesday and Wednesday, you're going to have appointments. You're going to have other information that you can compile and clean up with your database. By Wednesday, you have leads that you can start following up with, taking whatever active deals you have or potential open houses, start putting those out on the web by Wednesday. You want to do follow-ups using, and I'll keep saying it, Facebook is the solution. I don't know. Maybe you can help me with this, David. I'm going through a thing right now where I feel like saying Facebook is a dirty word to people. Like people are frowning upon the power of Facebook. Now, maybe it's just my own mental block on this, but how critical is it to be in the marketplace, to be posting on your page, to tie it into your, all of it? How important is all of it? Maybe I'm just crazy at this point.
Well, okay. So I heard an analogy a day or two ago that I think is really appropriate. First of all, it's not crazy. Marketing, there's marketing and sales, and a lot of people don't understand the difference between sales and marketing. Marketing is about brand awareness. Marketing is your friends and family know that what business that you're in. Okay. Sales is when they decide to do business with you. Okay. And you can apply that to any business. It can be Nordstrom's, marketing is making you aware that Nordstrom's has a great shoe department, and that gets you into the shoe department. And then once you're in the department, what the salespeople do is otherwise known as sales when they're trying to get you to do a transaction. So marketing gets the phone to ring, and sales gets the cash register to ring. Okay. So if you think about, everyone's, I think, will relate to this, is let's steal it from Bed Bath & Beyond. Now, has anybody ever gotten one of those 20% off postcards in the mail?
All of us. Said all
Right.
of us.
Right. So maybe, and I'm not sure how many, but it's 1 or 2 a month that you get, and it's good for one item. And I don't know what you do, but 1 or 2 things happen with it. You do what I do. You throw them in a drawer. I always separate them from the mail, and then I just throw them, and I accumulate them, and I accumulate them, and I accumulate. Next thing you know, I got 7, 8, 10 of them in my glove box. I keep them in my glove box because I never plan to go to Bed Bath & Beyond. Well, rarely. I'm usually driving by. I said, I need something from there, and I go in there and I grab all my coupons, because those coupons are generally good for 1 item. But I learned that if I buy 5 items and I have 5 coupons, I get the 20% off all 5 of those items. So Bed Bath, and then what Bed Bath & Beyond does, when I go buy something, they ask, would you like your receipt emailed to me? And so I give them my email address, and next thing you know, I'm getting the same coupon by email as well. And a few times a month, I'm getting an email, and a couple times a month, I'm getting a postcard. And I don't spend I only go to Bed Bath & Beyond, 2, 3, 4 times a year, maybe. But when it comes time to need something that Bed Bath & Beyond might carry, there's a much higher probability that I'm going there to buy it because I'm going to get 20% off. And they've done a good job to me by being top of mind, and whether or not I'm keeping their coupon or I'm not keeping their coupon, I'm always aware of Bed Bath & Beyond. And every time I get a coupon, it's reminded me that I need to get a new coffee maker. It's reminded me that I need new placemats. It reminds me that I, might want a comforter for the guest bedroom, or, the kind of stuff that you buy at Bed Bath & Beyond. And so they do a really good job of staying top of mind. They're not in my face. They're not hard closing me. They're just giving me an offer, and I'm glad to take it. Because I know that sooner or later I'm going to do a transaction and I'm going to want that coupon, so I don't unsubscribe. I keep taking their coupon.
Yeah,
so
I completely agree with you.
Your marketing is designed to do the same thing, to remind your friends and family that you're in the real estate business and they're not ready to do a transaction. But when they are, you want them to 6 or 8 months ahead, that you want them asking about how's the real estate market, how are interest rates, is it a good time to buy, is it a good time to, way before they're ready to do the transaction, you kind of get a sense because they start talking to you and asking you questions and engaging in conversation, and that's when you need to start paying closer attention to that friend. Sorry, go.
No, you nailed it, and it leads to the final point, I guess, for this motivational Wednesday. The other thing that I like to point out when I meet with someone for the first time face-to-face is fundamentally accepting a very simple rule. 99% of what you do is for free. The more free you do, the more positive free things that you do, the more business you will get. As hokey, again, I don't want to be that guy, David. I'm just telling you what my life experience over the last 6 weeks has been with that attitude and that mindset. It brings more deals. The law of attraction is a real thing. If you're in a positive mental space and you don't know what to do something for free, do something for your clients, make some kind of offer, and do it without the sake of worrying about what the return is. There is a lot to be said about our business mostly. I would say this for almost all businesses. I mean, truthfully, at the end of the day, most everything you do is free in base. People just want information. But if you're not taking that step, you're not giving yourself the opportunity.
Well, that's really this is, listen, it's information without obligation. The world has changed. I mean, this always be closing thing it just doesn't work anymore. I mean, if you're, everybody, it's too easy to get the information. In the old days when, with Tom Hopkins and Zig Ziglar were going around the world teaching us how to, close, always be closing, always ask for the order. You need to get 5 no's before you get a yes. 1 no is, gives you 1 step closer to the yes, that kind of mentality. That was one thing, but you had all the information. So it was a quid pro quo. They had to talk to you. Now people just Google it. They just Google it and then get the information without you. And so you don't have any choice but to add value. If you're going to withhold your expertise in exchange for some sort of commitment, you're going to find that it's a very tough way to do business. And you've just got to focus on building relationships, with you being focused on helping them understand what their options are and giving them the information they need to make the best decision. When I go on a listing appointment, like I remember saying this yesterday, when I was scheduling the appointment, I say, listen, I'm going to come out, I'm going to give you some, I'm going to answer all your questions. I'm going to give you some tips and strategies on what to do and what not to do. We'll talk about comps. We'll talk about compensation. We'll talk about the marketing, and in general, I'll give you all the information you need to know as to figure out whether or not now is the right time to sell. And if it is, what's the right strategy, and are we the right team in order to help you get it done? There's no cost obligation whatsoever. My objective is just to give you the information you need to make the best decision for you and your family. Are you good with that? What do you think they said? Yeah, looking forward to seeing you.
Sure. There's no pressure on the approach. It's designed to create a relationship, period.
Yeah, and I left that meeting with the listing. Okay, when I went there yesterday, and I never even asked them to do it. It was just the natural conclusion at the end of the day. I just said, okay, so what we talked about different price points and different strategies. So which price and strategy do you guys want to go with? And they picked one, and I started filling it out, and they signed it. It was really pretty easy.
David, give out your information.
Well, David Bartels, Home Loan Advocates. My number is 805-413-8000, 805-413-8000. You can find out more about Home Loan Advocates at homeloanadvocates.com. That's plural, also, advocates, plural.
You can also follow David on Facebook. Just type in Home Loan Advocates. As for me, if you want to find out more, type in Lee Honish or Lee Honish Marketing. Any of those will get you to the right place on Facebook. And if you want to find out more about Monster Marketing, being a part of these coaching calls, or if you're interested in finding out if you need help with digital marketing or having someone tell you exactly what to do and when to do it, go to honish.com, scroll down, just click on the free one-on-one. Okay, if you just don't know, just go to honish.com, scroll down, click on the free one-on-one link. I'll get it immediately. I will call you. I will talk to you. I have had all sorts of crazy calls. I don't think any of them are crazy. I find them all very interesting. I have had hour-long conversations about what I think about expired and how I'd really go after expireds. So don't hesitate. I'm happy to share my thoughts on whatever topics you're going through. 100% free. Just go to honish.com.